Welcome to the Wired for Success podcast, your show for ambitious, mission-driven entrepreneurs who want to build million-dollar businesses without sacrificing their health, relationships, or happiness, who understand that in order to build their empire, they need a solid foundation, and that the more they are thriving, the more their business is thriving too. This show brings you the very best from science, self-development, and entrepreneurship to set you up for sustainable success. Hi, I'm Claudia Garbutt, the scientist turned mindset and high performance coach for entrepreneurs, and I help you get wired for success. Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Wired for Success podcast, where we talk about all things science, self-development, and entrepreneurship that help you get to that next level of success in your life and business. And my guest today is Sami Wunder, a leading international relationship and dating expert who specializes in working with ambitious, high-achieving women, helping them attract lasting romantic love. And as the CEO of a thriving multiple seven-figure business, Sami currently serves a highly engaged global clientele across 86 countries. Her clients range from a Hollywood celebrity to TV stars to CEOs, bankers, lawyers, doctors, renowned authors, leading entrepreneurs, and more. To date, Sami's company has served thousands of clients and recorded over 500 client engagements and hundreds of committed relationships. She's a leading authority when it comes to dating and relationships and a sought-after expert in the media. So I haven't had many relationship experts on the show yet, so I'm really looking forward to this conversation today. Welcome, Sami, and thank you so much for being on my show today.
Thank you for having me. Such a pleasure.
The pleasure is all mine. Sami, you are an economist by profession. How did you build a multiple seven-figure business as a love coach?
Yes, it's a really interesting story of career transition. So I'm a trained economist. And I'm not just a trained economist. I was really good at what I learned at university and, winning gold medals and getting scholarships to go for my master's to Germany. And I would say there were two reasons behind this career transition. The first one was my own struggles with men and in romantic relationships. So, I've always been a nerd. I've always, when I struggle at something, I want to figure it out. I am a problem solver by nature. And so when I started dating in Germany and got really serious about looking at my love life, because I knew I didn't want to be the woman who just has amazing career success. Like, it was really important for me also to have success in my personal life and, have a beautiful home to go back to, a husband to go back to. So at a very young age, I was 21, 22 back then, I was like, I'm going to now start dating intentionally and, bring in my person. And it was a complete disaster. Like, I couldn't understand why, man after man would fizzle out on me, ghost on me, tell me that I was amazing, but they weren't feeling it for me. And so long story short, there was a man that came into my life that I thought was the one, finally that person where you feel that great connection and he's not intimidated by your brains, by your success, and he actually celebrates it, which is so rare to find for women like us. And 2 months down the line, when the pattern repeated, and he said to me, like, you're amazing and all of that, but I can't give you what you're looking for. I think that was my moment of transition and, just so much pain that the only way could have been up from there. And so that man was such a gift to my life because he's the one who inspired me to actually go study, figure things out. Why is it that it doesn't work out with, men and especially good men that I like? And that's what got me studying romantic relationships like a total nerd. I figured things out for myself. I started to date amazing men. And by amazing, I don't just mean ambitious, successful, handsome men. I actually started to date men who would treat me like the way we deserve to be treated in our relationships. And my husband, Chris, proposed to me within 9 months of meeting me. And I completely turned around my dating game. I completely turned around the way I was experiencing men love. And when Chris and I got married, so we've been married for 10 years now, we have two beautiful boys, I'm living the dream. We went to Paris after my marriage. And that is where this whole entrepreneurship thing was born, because I couldn't speak the language and I was already learning German. So my husband is German. I come from India. And I was like, I'm not going to start learning French now. And I'm also not going to just sit at home and do nothing, as much as I love my husband and I love, just looking at the Eiffel Tower, I have gifts to give. And then as if by like a stroke of destiny, I would say, an ad showed up on my Facebook that said, do you have gifts you want to share with the world? And do you know that you can train as a coach and you can share the messages you have with the world? And I was like, that's interesting. And that's when I signed up to be a trained relationship coach. And then I created my own process from what I had learned during my single days as a struggling, smart, successful single woman. And that's when my company was born. I think it was just God, universe, just leading me in the direction I was meant to go in. And there's been no looking back since then, Claudia. I mean, we are, a multi-7-figure per year company serving clients from across the globe and making a true difference in women's lives, because I think dating and love can feel so hard for the strong, smart, successful person, who's driven and ambitious and already finds it so difficult to meet the right person for them.
Oh, that's such an inspiring story. And I just love how you geeked out so much on this, because this is just like how I approach things as well. I think this is this scientist mindset where you're just like, okay, this is a problem. I'm going to find a solution and I'll do what it takes. I'm going to figure it out. And this is exactly what you did. And you and I, we just talked briefly before we started recording. And I told you that I'm a molecular biologist by profession who turned into a mindset and high performance coach for entrepreneurs. So I have had my fair share of career change experiences, but I would love to hear how this went for you. What have you found most challenging about this radical career transition? And what did the people around you think and say to you?
I mean, I was really blessed to have a family that always believed in me. And so they were really surprised at the start. They were like, wow, you invested all this money in being a trained economist. And they had all expected me to work for the Deutsche Bank in Germany, or have a 9-to-5, really reputable high-level job. And so I would say they were really surprised. They didn't even know that there was a career called love coaching. And they were like, what? You're going to become a love coach? What does that mean? How do you explain that? Oh, so you mean you're going to be a therapist? Oh, you mean you're going to be a psychologist? And I'm like, no, mom and dad, like therapy, psychology, those are very different from being a coach. Coaching is, forward moving, it's results oriented. It's all about like getting results really fast. You can train as a coach and you can learn the techniques and skills. And so it took a little bit of explanation, but let's just say I was really blessed that they were 100% supportive of me. That's I don't think everybody gets to have that, but I had that. I also had that with my husband, right? Like he was so supportive of my change of career path. And for everybody else, I mean, there were people who thought that I wasn't succeeding as an economist, or maybe I was having a hard time finding a job in Germany or in Paris as an economist, and that's why I needed to start my own business. And to that, I just said, watch me, just watch me. And I think today, like everybody is just amazed at what I have created, together with my team. And I think it's just about having the belief and confidence in yourself. I think that's the most important thing. And number two is, of course, delivering the result you promised to deliver. I think there's a lot of love coaches in the market, but the reason why the Sami Wunder brand stands out and the reason why we attract a very high level of elite clientele is because they're results focused. And we have such a terrific track record of results for our clients, like 500 plus client engagements, 500 plus, committed partnerships. So I think with entrepreneurship, there is the idea, the magic, the passion in your idea, but then there's also the facts of it. Like you have to be really good at what you do. Otherwise, you are in such a competitive environment that if your process is not helping people make the change you promise they can make with your work, then I think it's a much harder journey.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's great that you had the support right from the start, from the family and your husband. And because I think believing in yourself is one thing, but if you're in a negative environment, this can really drag you down and create a lot of self-doubt when you have all those naysayers in the background who are like, don't you want to get a real job kind of thing? So what's the most surprising lesson that you have learned about entrepreneurship by building this hugely successful business?
I think there is nothing like a smooth ride.
True.
I think it's a myth. And I think it's so easy to see people like me, going sailing on the Mediterranean and think, oh, how easy her life is. She has all this money and, she's living such an abundant life. But I think what I realized with entrepreneurship was that it's never like the smooth sea. There's always going to be waves. And you just, with experience and wisdom, you just get better at dealing with the waves. Like you develop the mindset, you develop the emotional resilience and the emotional intelligence to be able to go through that far better. You have far lesser dips. It's not like you don't have dips, you just have far lesser dips. And you're able to navigate the challenges from a more detached perspective as as your company scales and you get bigger. Because I remember in the beginning, like everything felt so heavy and so serious till you realize, like your life is passing you by. And if you're going to keep fretting and crying about every little challenge that you see in your business, then before you know, the business becomes your life and it becomes your emotional state at some level, and that is too costly a price to pay. And so when I became a mom, I had to draw stronger boundaries, become more emotionally resilient, and just see my company as a company, but not like all of my life, and to separate myself and my private life from my work. And you just, with wisdom and experience, you just get more detached. And you just see like the challenges will always be there, the waves will always be there. And what you can control is like how you respond to it and really focus on that.
That is so important. I think that's one of the most important mindset shifts, that your self-worth and your net worth are not the same thing. So even if your business might be in one of those dips that we just talked about, it doesn't mean that something is wrong with you. And this is something that I see a lot of people struggle with. They are on top of the world if their business, runs well, and they are down in the ditch when things don't go as expected. So just as you said, this being able to detach from the results that you see, or just being able to respond instead of react, that's a huge step forward and so important for everyone out there who's starting a business maybe. Speaking of starting a business, I talk to a lot of coaches, and a lot of them are struggling with the exact same thing, which is finding your first client, your first ideal client, and then finding more of these ideal clients on a regular basis. How have you solved this lead generation issue in your business, and what has worked well and what hasn't?
I mean, I didn't think of lead generation when I was starting out. I'll just be honest about it. I thought of service and I thought of testimonials and helping get people results. And so I remember, like, I started this Facebook group, and then I added all my family members, and I said, I'm starting this new love coaching company. I want to help, ambitious women find love and really fast and follow my process and, help women in relationships heal their marriages or the disconnection they're experiencing. So if you know somebody who could use my help, if you could bring them to my group, that would be amazing. And so I think I had a group of like 30, 40 people called Wunder Divas on Facebook. It's still there, that group, with like 19,000 members now.
Ooh.
And what I did was I just shared my expertise. I talked about boundaries in relationships. I talked about, opening your heart to love. I talked about the importance of having a positive mindset. I talked about masculine, feminine energy, which is a huge part of, the process I teach in order to help ambitious women, attract love. And all of that started to really speak to my ideal client, and then people started to reach out, have conversations. That's what you need at the start. You need conversation. You need people to like see you as somebody who can help them and start those conversations. And then I remember charging like 25 euros or something for an hour. And I was like, I'm going to help you. This stuff has really worked for me, and I want to help you till you have the results you desire. So it was like a no-brainer for people. And that's how I got my first 5 testimonials, because I knew my process was working. Today, that process is a trademarked process called the Love Success Framework. It has 6 steps. It wasn't that polished back then, but I was like, I'm going to help these people. I'm going to get testimonials. And once you start sharing testimonials, then you attract even more people. So I think I wasn't thinking about lead generation. I was thinking about, how do I perfect the process that I have developed by talking to real humans, getting their feedback, helping them get results. And basically through that, these people went out and said, like, this woman, Sami Wunder, she really helped me. She helped me meet my husband. Like, you should talk to her. You're struggling in dating. And that's how, by word of mouth, if you're really starting up like a business that is truly starting out, I don't think it's about ads and complicated things. I think it's about service and perfecting your process and knowing that if you really help people, they're going to bring in more people.
That's so super important, this being of service. And I think this attitude of just learning by doing, it's something that a lot of people struggle with, because they want it to be perfect before they put it out there. This is something I see a lot, like the perfectionism kicks in and they're like, it's not perfect yet, so I can't share it yet. But when I hear you talk about it, it's like, you did the opposite. You just put it out there, even though it might not have been as polished as you would have liked it to be. You just tried it out on real people and got those real results and real testimonials. And that's how it all started to work for you, right?
Absolutely. So I think when you start a business, you've got to go in with very little ego and very little desire for looking perfect or being perfect. And all your energy has to go in, am I able to, be so good at my craft that I'm able to help people get the result that I'm saying they will get if they work with me. And I think if that becomes your obsession, like, nobody can beat you. Like, success is inevitable when you are obsessed with becoming a master of your craft. And that's what I am today. Like, I don't have a business that serves 20,000 people a year. I have a business that serves 2,000 people a year and serves them really, really, really well, and have a $3 million per year company. So I think it's about understanding that it's not always about volume and lots of people. Sometimes it can just be about helping that one person and helping them so well that A, they keep coming back to you, and B, they sing your praises to other people and bring new people in.
That's so true. another thing that I wanted to ask you about is, so once you're past that starting point and you're growing your business and you're scaling your business, what were the biggest struggles that you encountered in scaling your business to the multiple seven-figure mark? Because I think usually you encounter different problems in the grow phase, in the build phase, in the grow phase, and in the scaling phase of your business. So what was it that you struggled with the most when you expanded your company?
I think team hiring was really difficult. You grow a business, like, at least for me, I can say, I don't have an MBA. I just had to learn how to run a business on the go, because I was more obsessed with being a great love coach. And then suddenly I started to see, oh my God, I have to also wear CEO hat, not just love coach hat. So I think the hardest part was, learning how to hire a team, learning how to delegate, learning how to, let go of control. Because when your business is in its infancy, up to the six-figure mark, I think it's so much more about how much in control you are. And then beyond that, you have to stop controlling so much, and you have to let other people help you and other people do stuff for you. And that is like a whole new level of inner work that is needed to let go of control, trust other people, hire A players, and really believe that, now your mission is not just about you, it's about all these people serving you, supporting you, and being able to receive that help.
Yeah, that can be another really hard mindset shift there. Just letting go of the control and accepting help when you're one of those high achievers and you like to be in control.
Absolutely. I mean, it's also the same thing in relationships, right? Like,
Yes.
I think when you are dating as a high achieving woman, you like things the way you like them. And, you have such high standards. It's hard to meet somebody who's going to, deliver you exactly what you want to be delivered. And that is also where you have to sort of let go of that control a little bit and, like, open your eyes to, this could still be a great person, even if they are not my clone, or even if they're not saying and doing everything like I would have expected them to do. And the same thing in relationships, right? Like, you are used to being in control, and then suddenly there is this other person with whom you have to, live 24/7, and they're not going to do everything the way you want them to do. They're not going to say everything the way you want them to say it. And now we're hitting against that desire to control and to have it my way. And this is one of the biggest conflicts that also arises in relationships. And that's why I say, inner work is so important as entrepreneurs, because otherwise your business can just, and the habits that create a great business. So, at some level, as high achievers, we are obsessed with controlling everything because we have so much evidence that control helps us succeed. And it's actually what helps you succeed in the beginning, right? Like, you control, and you get successful. But then suddenly you realize, like, that thing that helped me build a six-figure business or even a multi-six-figure business is not the thing that's going to help me build a seven-figure business or a multi-seven-figure business. Now I need to, shift the way I'm operating from control into trust, from control into surrender, from doing everything myself into delegation. And so inner work is so important, I think, for any entrepreneur that really wants to grow, including the inner work required for our relationships. Because I don't know about your people who are listening to this right now, but when my business was growing, I was having major challenges in my marriage, and there was so much stuff coming up, so many challenges coming up in my relationship, because I was starting to be this very controlling, very obsessed with, getting everything, controlling the micro details. And then I was bringing that energy to my marriage. I was bringing that energy to my man, and it was not nice.
Yeah, totally. I totally understand what you're saying. And I think this is true for a lot of people. And there's something general I wanted to ask you is, some people might say, or some people actually do say, that love and business don't go together. Is that something that you've ever felt like? Have you ever felt like these two were incompatible?
Let's just say, As an expert, I call BS on that because it's a very major limiting belief. And the problem with beliefs and limiting beliefs is that they always come true. So whatever we believe at a very subconscious level is going to happen for us. It's going to become our reality. And so, have I had fearful moments in my life where I have felt like I can't have it all? Like I can't be such a successful woman and be a mom and be a wife and be loved and adored in my relationship? Have I felt that way? Of course, I have felt that way. Of course, that limiting belief that society somehow feeds in us women. I mean, if you look around you, there are so many media articles, there are so many people telling us like, if you get really successful, if you make a lot of money, men will not like you, men will not love you, you will destroy a man's ego, your relationship will suffer if you're so successful. So I think there is so much media input on this for women, but we have to decide that we are the creators of the life we want, and we are always in power of the experience we're having. And we can, if we don't like an experience, we can change the experience. If we don't like an experience we're having, we can learn skills to have a different experience in our marriage or in our relationship or in our dating life. And so as a human, yes, of course, I have thought about these things sometimes, but as an expert, as a coach, I have also called myself out on it, and I have been able to take responsibility for what I'm thinking. And I have had to remind myself that I get to have it all. And this is something I tell my clients, like, you get to have it all. You get to have amazing careers, be really badass at what you do, make lots of money, and you get to have a relationship where you're a queen. You have a man who adores you, a partner who treasures you, and who pours into you. And both of those are possible at the same time. However, you have to remember that the skill set for having the two is very different. The skill set for having the two is very different. And this is what I had to learn as more or less an alpha female. I had to learn that I can use all my masculine doing, giving, controlling energy in my work life, but my relationship is succeeding with my feminine energy. It's succeeding with, me being able to receive. It's succeeding with me being able to surrender more to my partner versus control him and change him and, do all of those things. So yes, you can have it all, but you must learn the skill set of each of, these components, and they're very different from each other.
That makes sense. I mean, when so many high achieving women struggle in their love relationship, what do you think is the role of just self-worth and self-esteem and confidence in this context?
I think it's everything, to be honest. Like, you can bring the healthy relationship, having a healthy relationship and attracting a healthy relationship to the foundation of self-love. And I think as high achievers, the challenge that I see with my clients inside Elevate, which is my 6 months long group coaching program, where we support single, ambitious women to attract their empowered partner. What we have found is that the high achieving, ambitious woman lays a lot of emphasis on her achievements and on her success. And that becomes a huge part of her identity, in her life. And somehow she's not able to detach herself from I am worth it because I am so successful. I am worth it because I make so much money. I am worth it because look what I've achieved in my life. And somehow, in her weaker moments, when she's feeling rejection in dating, or when she's feeling, the pain of, not being good enough in dating, she doesn't know how to feel worthy without identifying with, all that she has achieved. And so it's so important that we understand that we are worthy just because we are, and our worth doesn't go up and down based on our business success or based on, whether a man is choosing you or not. Your worth is just a given. It's a constant, and it just is. And a housewife is as worthy as a woman who creates multi-seven-figure businesses, and a multi-seven-figure business owner is as worthy as a woman who has a 8-figure or $100 million company, because our worth is not coming from these things, and if we don't understand this, then we are setting ourselves up for a lot of pain, especially in relationships where we're not able to I think a lot of ambitious women, we judge ourselves based on our success, and we judge men for their success. So a lot of the times, I find that my clients are not able to respect men who are achieving even a little lesser than what my client is achieving, or they're not able to respect a man if he's making even like a 2,000 less than what she's making, so she has all these blocks of, what does it mean to be worthy? And she somehow mistakenly keeps thinking that money and success is what defines her. But when it comes to your love life, those things really don't matter, and they don't matter to the right men, and they shouldn't matter to you, because love and romance is about heart connection. And it's about, it's about me seeing your worthiness despite whatever you're achieving or not achieving, and you seeing my worthiness despite what I'm achieving or not achieving.
Thank you so much for sharing. This is exactly what I wanted to emphasize, because this is something that I see a lot in working with my clients as well. Just this general, maybe a lack of self-worth and just confidence. And that can create patterns in your relationships or in your business where you're trying to mask things, and then you'll create even more self-sabotaging patterns and self-fulfilling prophecies and all the bad stuff. So one of the things that I've also noticed in a lot of those high-achieving ladies out there who are trying to find love is, for a lack of a better word, this needy energy. So they're giving their power to the other person, and they're kind of expecting the other person to fill this inner void. So do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, I like to think of it as chasing versus attracting. Can you maybe speak to that?
Yes, absolutely. So I think, again, look at the high achiever, look at the ambitious woman. She's got everything in her life by working for it and going for it and pursuing it and chasing it. This is true for her career, right? And so what happens is that this is masculine energy, and this is not a sexist term. Like, both men and women have both energies. So it's not like, women don't have masculine or men don't have feminine. Both have both energies. But let's just say, as an ambitious woman, you have so much evidence that when you go for it, when you control, when you pursue, when you chase, you get what you want.
Right.
And so the challenge is that when we do the same in our relationships, we come across two problems. The first is, when you are chasing, pursuing in your masculine energy and running after men or pursuing men and asking for their numbers and calling them and texting them and always being the first one to initiate so that you can have the guy you like, what happens is you actually repel empowered masculine men. Because when you understand how romantic relationships work, they work on the basis attraction, and sexual tension in romantic relationships is based on the presence of polarity, which means polar opposite energies. And so if you're going to show up in your masculine, guess what men you will attract? You will attract men who are more in their feminine, men who are more passive, men who are making not so much effort for you, and you're always finding that you're the one who is making the effort. And if you didn't make the effort, nothing would happen. If you didn't make the effort, you wouldn't even go on a date, because he doesn't even have enough masculine energy to call you and set up a date. So things only happen for these women in dating if they are making it happen, and they get really frustrated and they blame the guys. And we say things like, oh, the men are so passive and the men are so lazy. But no, you're going to attract that kind of less effortful, more passive man if you show up in your masculine energy. So that's like the one big issue that a lot of my clients struggle with, which is like, he makes no effort. I'm making all the effort. And if I didn't make the effort, nothing would happen. Well, you've attracted a certain kind of man based on the energy you're putting out there. So that's number one. And I think the second challenge is that we feel like, love, if this particular man loves me and validates me, then I'm good enough.
Mm-hmm.
And so our ego makes us chase validation basically from men we like. So what happens is that you see a man, you think he's attractive, you think he's successful. So your ego is going to put him up on a pedestal. And once you've put him on a pedestal, you're going to be like, now, if he chooses me, if he likes me, then I'm good enough. And so till he chooses me, I'm just going to keep trying to make him like me. I'm just going to keep staying in this proving, chasing, working hard energy till he chooses me, because I feel at some deep level I'm not good enough. And once this person chooses me and once they validate me, then I'm going to be good enough. So this is all what I call ego-based dating. And if you don't see yourself doing these behaviors and, trying to, convince a man of your worth or convince a man that you're good enough and chase him and pursue him so that he would choose you and like you, if you don't see that, this can be such a painful path to go on. Because what happens is that you keep choosing men who are not choosing you, and you actually keep feeling attraction towards these men. And you keep thinking to yourself, if only I can convince him and if only I can make him like me, then I will feel better. But the truth is that this is the recipe for going for hot and cold men. This is the recipe for tolerating bad treatment from men. This is the recipe for tolerating emotionally unavailable men, because your ego keeps telling you, if only I could convince him and if I work hard enough, he's going to choose me. Now, dating from your feminine energy is just the complete opposite. It's like in Elevate, we talk about being the lighthouse, like living your full life, loving yourself, knowing you're worth it just by being who you are, and then seeing who is attracted to your light, seeing who's coming towards you, and then evaluating how they're treating you and whether or not you feel good enough in their presence. And if you don't feel good enough in their presence, you let them go. But if you feel good in their presence, you keep entertaining them and you keep, allowing them deeper into your life. So feminine energy in your love life is really the recipe for attracting and magnetizing and pulling towards you what you want versus running after what you want. And when you're dating in masculine, you run after what you want. When you're dating in your feminine, you pull towards you what you want. And the way to pull towards you what you want is basically believing that you have a magnetic power as a woman and that you are naturally attractive to men. You are just, when you are, being yourself and being in your feminine, being in your female form, this is already enough to bring the right people to you.
This is such a powerful shift because it also allows you to simply be yourself. You don't have to pretend. This is also something I see happening a lot because people have this perfect facade that they try to maintain. It's like, I can't be myself because otherwise the other person is not going to like me anymore. So they have to pretend all the time. And the way that you just described it is just be yourself, let your light shine, and then you will automatically attract the person who likes you for who you are, which is such a better approach, right?
I mean, I have to qualify the statement of be yourself because I think sometimes there is all these generic statements floating around on social media, which is getting so noisy. But I think there is be yourself, and then there is be your healthy self. There is be yourself, and there is be your healthy, empowered self. There is be yourself, or just be yourself. And then there is, be in your healthy, empowered, feminine energy around men. It doesn't mean pretense. It actually means the opposite. It means we are taking responsibility for showing up as healthy, healed adults in our partnerships. Because if we just took the be yourself statement by itself, then nobody has any work to do. Everybody can just show up the way they are. But what if the way you're showing up is actually really insecure? What if the way you're showing up is actually really masculine and controlling? What if the way you're showing up is that you are blaming and attacking in your communication versus having spent the time and energy to actually learn to communicate in a healthy way to attract a healthy partner so that you can have a healthy relationship? So I think I just want to, as an expert, I like to qualify these broad statements because so often they can be used as an excuse for inaction. It's like, here I am, take me as I am. But what if I don't want to take you as you are? What if the version that you are showing up as is actually really insecure, really controlling, really in your masculine, and you need to do some work on yourself so that you can go back to being the best version of yourself that you were born as, but somewhere down the line, some dysfunction happened, something happened that made you forget your magic. So I think it's really important to still take responsibility for showing up as healthy partners and as healthy daters, and take responsibility for our part of doing the work to be that way.
Very good point. And thank you so much for the clarification. I absolutely agree with that. Staying with patterns that we see in our relationships, we often come across, I would say, probably a number of archetypes that just show up over and over again when it comes to relationships. Can you share what archetypes you often see in your clients and what their strengths and weaknesses are?
Oh my God, like this is a whole thing. I actually have like an archetype quiz on my as on my website. And I mean, I like to talk about archetypes as archetypes in romance specifically. So this could be a whole masterclass, but let's just say my archetypes are, the CEO. So she's highly in her masculine energy, and her strength is that she can really take care of herself, and she can really look after herself and, make the money, pay the bills, drive her car, have her own home. But the CEO has a really hard time being vulnerable in love. And the CEO can also show up as very controlling in her relationships, which is going to sabotage her relationships. But her strength is that she's not dependent on a man. She's not like needing a man to breathe, so that is her gift. Then secondly, the archetype I have is the nurturer. Her strength is that she can really love, give support, have empathy in her relationships. But her shadow side is that she can be an overgiver in her relationships. And when the CEO and the nurturing archetype are together, it's a very, very harmful combination for women in relationships, because it's the recipe for feeling resentful with your partner, overgiving, then not feeling recognized for overgiving, then wondering why he doesn't do what you do for him. And you don't even recognize that you're probably you're operating from the shadow side of the nurturing archetype, and you're overgiving and overdoing, and nobody else is asking you to do that, but you're doing that anyway, and then you're feeling bad about it. So this archetype can have a lot of dysfunction in her dating and relationships, especially for my married clients and women in relationships, which is also a service we offer inside Elevate. So we also support, to heal marriages and relationships inside Elevate separately from the singles group. And we see this overgiving really destroying our clients' marriages and relationships. And then the third archetype is the little girl. I mean, this is when you can be a very successful woman, but in your relationships, you show up as disempowered, feeling like a victim, being very, very needy around men, feeling like you need a man to breathe, feeling like if he doesn't give you attention, your world is going to collapse. So the little girl has a lot of work to do in, strengthening her capacity to look after herself, which is something she can learn from the CEO archetype, who has great capacity to look after herself. The gifts of the little girl: she's very playful, she's very present in the moment, something that men love. So great feminine energy from the little girl archetype. But she can be the damsel in distress. She can be the woman that usually gives feminine energy a bad rap, where women say, I don't want to be weak like that, or I don't want to depend on a man like that. But that's the shadow side of the little girl. The fourth archetype is the celebrity archetype. This is great strength with boundaries, great strength with self-love. And her shadow side is that she can be very judgmental of men. She can be very critical. She finds it very hard to like meet men who are up to her standard. She's busy judging everybody. If she's in a relationship, she's like always critical of her partner. He's never good enough. So these are the shadow sides of the celebrity. And last but not the least, this is my archetype. So like, of course, there can be, different people can come up with their archetypes. But these are the like subconscious energetic patterns we see with our clients. And the last one is the escort. So this is like a woman who's operating a lot from her sexual energy, her lover energy. In dating, this can mean you often end up just sleeping quickly with men without being able to develop an emotional bond with them. In your relationship, it might again mean like, you have a more promiscuous side, you wanna try like other stuff, go from monogamy to polyamory and stuff like that. So that kind of, when the escort is driving you, it could lead to like the gift of, being connected with your body, being a really sexually alive, woman. But the shadow side could be too much emphasis on sex, and that's sort of, taking away from the emotional connection that is also required in long-term healthy romantic relationships.
Super interesting. I always find these patterns just absolutely fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing. When you think back, I mean, you mentioned in the beginning that your own story inspired you building your business. What do you think? What was your initial archetype?
So I think I used to oscillate dominantly from CEO energy. So I would be either very controlling, or I would go into the little girl energy, which was like, I really needed a man, and I really needed a man to validate me. And as I've been doing the healing work, I think today I'm more of a celebrity. I have very good boundaries. I can really communicate my boundaries. I have high standards. I hold those high standards for all my relationships. But every once in a while, I will still struggle with judgment. I will still struggle with, being critical, like, everything has to be perfect. So let's just say, like, you also move based on the work you do. You also can heal certain energies, and then, new level, new devil, and you can heal, and you can then come across a new kind of challenge, or a new box opens up where you're like, oh, so I healed that, but now I have this, and it's completely normal.
It's so true. And I think that just, understanding one's triggers and clearly communicating your needs and wants is so crucial, especially for the long-term success of any relationship. So do you have maybe any tips for couples who are struggling with their communication?
Yes, absolutely. So, of course, these are topics where I could, talk all day, and we do teach this deeply and help you heal these things and learn them inside Elevate. But if I had to give just one tip, it would be, do not expect your partner to be a mind reader. Just ask respectfully for what you want.
Yes. Amen to that.
Absolutely. And I mean, we're all guilty of this. Like, I can't tell you the number of times I've just hoped Chris would, stay back and support me because I've had a hard day in business, versus just asking for it. Like, and I cannot tell you the number of times my clients in Elevate have judged men for not offering to pay the bill, or not offering to, open the door. And I've asked them to just say what they want. Like, it feels more special when a man, takes care of the bill, like, this is not friendship, this is romance. And it just feels better that way. And when they've said it, it's amazing, like, how that's opened up the connection. Because the man was like, oh, by the way, the last time I offered to pay the bill, the woman got really offended. So I didn't know, like, if it was safe and to even, want to pay on the date. And so often, I think, so much love is lost. I think this is one of Rumi's quotes, so much love is lost in what is meant but not said, and what is said and not meant. So I think just really using your voice, assuming the best intentions, assuming that your man wants to make you happy, your partner wants to make you happy, assuming that the date wants to make you happy, and then just asking for what you want, is just such a powerful way to show up in our relationships.
I totally agree. And I think this is a great place to wrap up. So our last question for today is, where can our listeners find you online if they would like to learn more about you or just connect with you?
Yes, absolutely. So I think I'm all over the internet. So just type my name correctly, spell it right, Sami, Sami, Wunder, Wunder, Sami Wunder. So you can find me on samiwunder.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at Sami Wunder Coach. And I have a gift for your audience. So I know, like, today I've been speaking to all high achievers here, and usually the high achiever doesn't have an issue with being in her masculine. Like, she's got that part nailed down. She can do and give and do all of those things. But when it comes to embodying your feminine energy, that is still a concept that feels very vague and intangible to these women. And so I got my team to share with you a powerful training that I recorded on 3 powerful shifts to move into your feminine energy in your love life as quickly as overnight. So as quickly as your next date, or as quickly as when you're seeing your partner next. So this link shall be in the show notes.
It will be. Thank you so much, Sami. I think our listeners will really enjoy that. And again, thank you so much for sharing all your wisdom with us today. I've really enjoyed our conversation.
Same here. Thank you for having me, Claudia.
Thank you. Take care and talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the Wired for Success podcast. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. That's a fantastic, easy, and zero-cost way to help the show grow. Just use the link in the show notes and make my day. Want more? For quick, actionable tips and insights to guided meditations and a side of biohacking, join my inner circle and get access to exclusive subscriber-only content. Again, just use the link in the show notes to join the tribe. Thank you for your support and see you on the other side. Take care and talk soon. Bye.